today I'm going to give my own unvetted personal thoughts about the current controversy regarding Jubilee. I already talked about the Jubilee episode with Mehdi Hasan as he talked with a bunch of far right, disgusting people, to be honest. And that conversation highlighted some very terrible people. And because of that, one of them in particular, who admitted he was a Nazi, got fired from his job. Now he's raising money. Apparently, got $30,000. Kind of weird that there are people giving him money. But the bigger conversation is not necessarily how terrible this guy is, because he is a terrible person. The bigger conversation is attacking Jubilee in particular. And now, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, there's a petition that this guy is trying to make, obvious leftist, trying to demonetize Jubilee. Now, I don't know if they're trying to demonetize this video or their entire account, but I responded saying, this is why people hate leftists. And obviously, a lot of leftists were very upset at me. Now, I don't give two shits if they're upset at me, but the conversation I want to have in regards to this is very simple. The conversation I want to have is, should Jubilee be deplatformed? And the overarching count, or not deplatformed, but shouldn't allow certain people on their platform. And the bigger conversation is allowing dangerous, damaging voices to be heard on platforms. Now, there is something called the freedom of speech, right? Freedom of speech allows you to say your opinion. It was created so people have the ability to criticize their government and express themselves however they see fit. That was the purpose of it, of course. But there are certain exceptions to that where it would not qualify under freedom of speech, right? Obviously, inciting violence is one thing. Like, you can't scream fire in a movie theater, creating a whole barrage of people going insane. Certain levels of defamation is not covered as well. Certain obscene material is not covered as well. So that is in regards to what the government can regulate. As for private corporations and businesses, the conversation is a little bit different and a little bit more open-ended. So if we're having a legal argument versus a moral and ethical argument, these are two different things. I don't think any of the leftists that are making this argument has a legal standing to do anything, to be honest. But all right, let's talk about a more moral and ethical one, because the private companies can do whatever the fuck they want. If they want to ban you because you're being a piece of shit, they can ban you. That's fine. If you have a YouTube account and you want to block someone, you can block someone. That's fine. Should you, as a voice, as an individual, as a platform, showcase these voices? Now, this also corresponds with the conversation that is happening at the same time, and that is the Nelk Boys interviewing Netanyahu. And the Nelk Boys interviewing Netanyahu, the problem with that is that they were not qualified enough to talk to this dude. This dude is hated by a lot of people around the world. He is honestly unhinged right now. I would say, when it comes down to how they responded to October 7th, I was like, I very much understand Hamas is a terrorist group, but they've become unhinged. And it seems to me that they don't really care about stopping the violence. They care more about getting rid of Hamas at the cost of Palestinian lives. I felt like that ever since they basically said, fuck the ceasefire, the one that happened under Biden's administration. So it's very obvious what the far right Israeli government wants to do. So Netanyahu is very much not liked. Okay. No Boys had them on. These two individuals are not qualified enough to talk politics. Don't know jack shit about politics. They're just a bunch of bros who just be saying nonsense on their podcast about bullshit all the time. Kind of like Theo Vaughn. They had Netanyahu on, and he kind of proliferated his message on their platform. And it's the same idea as Donald Trump going on podcasts like Joe Rogan or Flagrant, like people who are not qualified enough to have these conversations, and allows them to push their image to the people because they know how to navigate these conversations and they know how to handle a less intellectual and a less assertive interviewee. A interview with a journalist and an interview with dumbass podcast hosts, if you're a political figure, you would take the dumbass podcast host every single time. So there is a big conversation that is now happening about whether or not you should talk with these people, whether or not you should platform these people. And I'll be very clear. I always think about things in terms of the value it provides. And I think there's harmful value and there's net benefit value. Nelk Boys having Netanyahu on their podcast, there's no benefit to anybody really that happened. There's none. There's no value other than pushing Israeli messaging on the podcast, because the Nelk Boys had no idea what the fuck is going on. They don't know anything about the history. They don't know anything about the messaging. They don't know anything about the actions of Netanyahu. They were just wrong around the rosy like little toddlers. So that was, I would say, harmful. Now, what I believe the difference between that and Jubilee is I don't think Jubilee goes out of their way to push harmful messaging for the purposes of pushing harmful messaging. My perception is that Jubilee has these podcast episodes or has these videos to showcase how an expert in their field, a very intelligent individual in their field, could navigate and answer these questions from these individuals in a productive manner. Now, you can criticize their format. I've criticized it. The whole hold up a red flag and allowing the people there to dictate that, I think that was very problematic, especially in the Dr. Mike episode, where all these anti-vaxxers were getting proven wrong left and right. They're just sharing their feelings off some bullshit and misinformation. And the moment Dr. Mike is about to correct them, what happens? All of them don't want to hear it, so they raise the flag, and he's not allowed to say his piece. Now, you could also criticize Dr. Mike for not being more assertive in those conversations to control the convo. Kind of like how Mehdi did, I think, in a very excellent way, because ultimately you were there because you're the star of the show. You're the one who's supposed to be debunking this stuff. So what I see from Jubilee doing this, I see Jubilee providing the opportunity of a strong voice in this particular field to showcase the flaws of logic from the other side, and at the very least bridge a level of understanding and correcting information. So they always bring qualified people. When we're talking about talking with people on the right, like MAGA, they bring in people like Destiny, Mehdi Hasan, what's that other dude's name? Sam Cedar, Dr. Mike. People who know this information, know the details, know the debate points, know the misinformation. These people know. So they can correct. They can address every concern these random people have. And they could do it effectively if they control the conversation, obviously. And then you got to redo the format. So these are why these people show up. And they even had people on the other side, because Ben Shapiro had one where he was debunking some people, and Pete Buttigieg had one where he was trying to answer the questions of people who were not sure about voting or whatever. So overall, qualified people to debunk misinformation and bad information. That is valuable, because people hear these talking points all the time. A lot of people are not willing to do their own research to figure out whether or not this is a lie or a truth. And now they can go to someone in particular have these same questions asked to them, and then see firsthand of them debunking it, or showing the flaws in the logic that is being applied. Not only that, they fact check some of the most ridiculous claims made by the other side all the time. In terms of who gets fact checked the most, it's mostly the right wing, because they're the ones who lie more often. So not only are you getting fact checked by Jubilee, but also they send a qualified person to shows the flaws in their reasoning. So if I had to create a ratio, a percentage of harmful and beneficial rhetoric and value, Jubilee, I would say, leans positive to me. It's very simple. These people are getting exposed on how ridiculous they are. And that is the most valuable thing. These people are insane. As we see, this guy's a Nazi, and now he gets shown across the world. You want to laugh and be giggly about this? Well, now your face is over the place. Now you could be a happy Nazi by yourself, isolated from society, not just pretending to be one of us who actually cares about America, because this motherfucker did not care about America. He didn't even care about the Constitution. But now he gets exposed. And the most valuable thing from all of this, not only are these terrible people getting exposed, getting fact-checked, their questions are getting addressed, so the people who are in limbo now know the proper answers to them. They're getting put in their place and exposed by qualified individuals. All of these things are happening, but the best part about all of this, the most beautiful part about why there's value in these discussions, can it be critiqued? Can it be formatted better? Are there some people you should stop bringing on, like that motherfucker who's like sounds gay but apparently is a Trump supporter? Sure. We can always talk about improving the platform and the critiques of what Jubilee does. But the biggest value, the biggest benefit is you have receipts of the insanity. That is the most powerful. You have receipts of the insanity. Donald Trump won the election recently. There's a lot of variables on why he won the election. A lot of lies and misinformation too. One of the reasons that a section of the population voted for Donald Trump is because it was a protest vote from the unhinged lefties that are in the Democratic Party. Now, I think all the stuff that these magatards complain about, for the most part, I think it's all nonsense. Not that it doesn't exist, but it's just not as big of an issue, and most people think it's insane. But the perception is that the Democrats believe this because the Democrats would never condemn it. They will never condemn the woke, radical bullshit that the left does. They never condemn it because they need their votes. They never do. So they can say unhinged shit, and it makes it seem like the Democrats endorse that messaging. You want examples? I'll give you examples. The whole stuff about, oh, all white people are racist. Oh, all men are rapists. Oh, black people can't be racist. Oh, all Jewish people were terrible and supported genocide. Oh, we should, when it comes down to, let me see, even though the majority of the LGBTQ don't support this, from my knowledge, but even the shit with maps that was going viral, people like, yo, are these guys pedophiles? I don't think most trans people are pedophiles. I think there's a lot of MAGA that are pedophiles, and we ain't talking about that. How about you release some Epstein files? How about that, right? Because Donald Trump's name is on that files. We know that for a fact. But I digress. The point is that there were some harmful messaging, in addition to like the BLM rights and that shit too. They're just saying terrible nonsense over there on the left, the far left. And that became ammunition. They were able to pull up these clips of Hasan saying some bullshit, of these leftists saying some bullshit, show it to some moderates, some people around the center, maybe even some libertarians, and go like, yo, lefties are insane. And Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they didn't deny any of this. They didn't fight back against any of this. And then they're able to use the receipts, use the messages to create a whole type of perceived incorrect vision framework of what Democrats are because of all this ammunition they have. And then what do you do from there? You get moderates thinking that leftists are insane. And that is why. That is why Jubilee having these conversations in the way that they are doing it. Can it be better? Yes, it can be better. But so far, we have gained so much ammunition to showcase moderates. And I would consider myself moderate, but I'm more intelligent than the average moderate because I follow politics very in-depthly. But you show the average moderate who doesn't pay attention to this stuff and go like, this guy's a Trump supporter. This girl's a Trump supporter. This guy's a Trump supporter. This girl's a Trump supporter. What do they believe in? Fascism. They don't believe in the Constitution. They are okay with the idea that Donald Trump can be a PDF file and they'll be okay with him being president. They hate immigrants. They want all of them gone. Just show receipt after receipt after receipt after receipt. That cachet, that loud resonance of voices that we're all collectively putting out there. So this is forced to be seen. Moderates are starting to find out, yo, MAGA is fucking insane. We're seeing this in real time, that the people that begged for the Epstein files, well, now all of a sudden we can't get them. And we're seeing how some of these people are starting to look at Trump weird. And what is happening in response? The MAGA cult is attacking them. And now they're starting to see, oh, fuck, MAGA is a cult. Now, do these realizations piss me off? Yes, because we've been telling you for so fucking long on how terrible Trump is and how terrible MAGA is. It's not because they're Republican. It's because they are a plague for America. They are genuinely terrible. And we try to lay out, we gave you all the details, all the information, but it just wasn't reaching. But now we have more. Now we are showing you exactly how terrible these motherfuckers are because they're becoming more emboldened off the bullshit. You know how many clips I posted out of one clip I posted out. I posted a clip about how idiotic some of these anti-vaxxers are. Someone was spreading this message. Dr. Mike corrected him. It was getting a lot of views, and people were like, oh, fuck, yeah. These anti-vaxxers are insane. I did another clip regarding Andrew Wilson, who fucking hates the country as well. And these people are like, yeah, this guy's insane. I did another clip talking about how that racist white girl who doesn't want any like people of color in the country that was talking with Destiny on one of the, I forgot the YouTube channel's name. They were like, oh, yeah, they're insane. And now I have more when it comes to this Jubilee reaction of, yeah, they're insane. I'm just getting more and more ammo. And it's not just, oh, yeah, I'm getting views. I don't give a fuck about that. What I care about is you finding out, realizing that these people are terrible. They're terrible people. They're not good for the country that I live in, that I care about. I care about America. I don't want these people in my country. Personally. Now, I won't go as far as Donald Trump trying to deport U.S. citizens, but I want them shamed. I want them ostracized. I want them looked at and borderline spat on, but not really spat on. Borderline spat on, but like, you know, spit right next to them, but it doesn't land on them. You know what I'm saying? I'm joking. So that is the energy I'm coming from. That is why the argument we should demonetize Jubilee, deplatform Jubilee. Now, should we have an argument? Well, I don't even know if we should have the argument of demonetizing them. I think I would be interested whether or not Jubilee pays the people who come to these conversations. Like, did Mehdi Hasan or Destiny get paid to do these conversations? I think they should get compensated personally. They're a big part in exposing the people that you're talking with. So that's what I probably would argue. Um, yeah, I just don't think Jubilee, from everything I've seen, has malicious intent. I think they've done too much content, basically trying to have productive conversations. Like, they've done a lot of really good conversations. Like the one with the ex-cons, that was a valuable conversation. There was some other good one, I think, with like trans people, and then there was another good one about like fucking like bodybuilders, I believe. There's so many, I just don't remember all of them. So many good conversations, so many productive conversations, so many conversations that showcase that you can talk with someone who doesn't agree with you. And but now they should be deplatformed because of this recent video, just because you think this guy's he is a Nazi. Yeah, he's a Nazi. Now he's been exposed, lost his job, and the people who are supporting him, well, we can put receipts on those too. Those people are pieces of shit as well. We know they exist. Now we're just exposing them. That's the point. We're exposing them. We're exposing them. So that's my opinion about this. I don't think Jubilee should be deplatformed. I think their platform can and should be improved so it's more effective in tackling these terrible things. And I don't believe in complete neutrality. So if Jubilee's ever thought that I want to be completely neutral for all voices, then I think that is a wrong perception. But I don't think that they try to do that. I don't believe so. I think based on how they've done their content, it's very obvious that they do not side with the MAGA movement. They've done more videos debunking MAGA than I feel like any other perception or perspective, right? So that's my perception anyway. But yeah, Jubilee should not get deplatformed. I think it's okay to talk with these voices to an extent, as long as you have enough qualified people to expose the terribleness. I think if you're not qualified to have conversations with these terrible messages, then you shouldn't have these conversations. I don't believe in platforming anything and anywhere. It should be under a controlled environment so it can be properly addressed, because ultimately these voices will not disappear. They've been growing and growing and growing for a very long time. And it's up to us as a society to condemn them. And we can't condemn something we can't see. That's the point.